Hello everyone, how's it going? This is Ryan back with another video, and today I want to talk a little bit about vocal mixing and vocal production in general and how you can make your songs stand out that little bit more in a sense of your mix when you're, for example, recording vocals and you're mixing vocals into it for a ready song kind of thing. So I'm going to cut right to the chase. I don't like to beat around the bush and keep you guys watching for 15, 20 minutes or whatever. So essentially, the core things that I like to do whenever I record any vocals is I like to always at least have these following three layers available to me. So obviously a main track, a harmony track, and an octave track. So what this means essentially is, if I play it in context of this song here, this will be the main melody.
They say it started like a wildfire. I feel it spreading in a new way about right now. Change the game, build an empire.
Cool. And then obviously the harmony, you can already guess what that means.
Say it started like a wildfire.
And then the octave.
I feel it spreading in a new way about right now.
You get the idea. Cool. So when you put all of these three things together, it sounds like this.
Yeah, they say it started like a wildfire. I feel it spreading in a new way about right now. Change the game, build an empire. If you're ready, we can spark it up. We can spark this all right now. I've been dreaming of a wild.
Cool. Now, separate to this, I just want to talk a little bit about things you can do and things to consider when you're producing a song to help elevate the song and the progression and the engagement within the song. So it's very easy to layer harmony upon harmony and octaves, and main vocals are doubling up and this, that, and the other. But what you want to create in a song is you want to create a sense of engagement and a sense of progression, like almost like a story in some mixes. Not all style of songs necessarily need that, but something that I'm a big fan of, and whenever I produce music I always like to keep something else coming and keep the uplift in a trajectory which is going to keep the listener going, oh, this is cool, where's it going next, and things like that. So for example, you'll see here in the verses, I've not put an octave layer in either of the first half of the second and first verse. So the reason for this is I want that octave layer to come in the second half just to elevate it that little bit more. Obviously, you'll have like the instrumental, for example, where you'll bring in like, it'll just be piano, and then the second half of that verse you'll bring in guitar. And it's the same kind of thing. It all just adds to that overall impact. Whilst it's a very subtle thing, it plays a massive, massive part. And the other thing I really wanted to touch upon, in a sense of arrangement, and I'll go over a few of my sort of plugins and stuff when I put on my tracks, but the processing and the effects side of vocals. And I think this is so important if you could fit this into any song, because it just adds so much character. This specific example I'm going to show you is already part of the original song, so I can't take credit for this, but I will explain this Thing Vocals 1 and Thing Vocals 2 in a minute. So yeah, just listen to this first. Just to hear that in context one more time. Cool. And this Thing Vocals here, I play this and then I'll talk around this as well.
It's all right now. They say it started like a wildfire.
Cool. Okie dokie. So as I said, effects add a lot of character to songs. Now, you don't have to keep it really raw if it's not a main vocal. So for example, this formant thing, it had formant editing, it had high speed pitch correction just to give it that auto-tuney sound, lots of distortion, reverb, you name it, and it was layered with a bassier and a higher layer, mimicking both of those two things. With this one, I put this in because I wanted it to counteract the arrangement of the piano melody that was playing after the second chorus. Now, in the song, essentially, that was originally a guitar solo in the full band version of this song before I made it a cover. When I put the piano melody in, I realised it doesn't sound as exciting to me on a piano when, you know, the high bits aren't being played like at the end of every bar or whenever it is. So I essentially put in this reverb sort of layered vocal thing, just to counteract the bits that didn't sound as nice, just to keep the engagement nice for the listener, because essentially that is what music comes down to these days, is engagement and things like that. And that's our jobs as producers, essentially, just to keep the engagement going, keep it nice on the ear, and not only to make it sound nice, but to, you know, do the theory behind it. You know, every 4 bars minimum, something has to change, and keep something different coming, and keep it progressing, and all these things I've already alluded to. So, um, the last thing I want to talk on vocals before I go over to the tracks is this specific belt layer here.
If you're ready, we can spark it up. We can spark this all right now. They say it started like a wildfire.
Oh, it's so fucking high. I forgot I didn't put that in there. Oh, it's so fucking high. Love that. A little bit of a blooper there. That is very high.
They say it started like a wildfire.
I love that. That's actually pure comedy. So essentially, yeah, that's whenever I do belts, I like to try and do them at the end of a song or a cover or an arrangement, if possible, especially if it's, to be honest, like this was very high up in my range, very difficult for me to sing. You're not going to want to do something and record something that you're going to have to do live, like for half the song where it's like too high for you. So I put this right at the end, distorted it, corrected it, all these kind of useful things, just to kind of support the impact of this final chorus and give it a little bit of a different feel to the previous two. Now, in terms of inserts, the way I've always mixed is less is more. I think with main vocals, EQ, compression, reverb, you know, most of the time I would actually put saturation, so like a distortion plugin, such as in Cubase, something called Magneto. But because this was a acoustic song and this was quite an ambient mix, I didn't feel like it was necessary. And whenever I mix acoustic stuff, I always keep it very bare bones raw. And whenever I'm doing harmonies and octave layers as well, I like to have them really tight and really tuned, just because it creates a really nice sound to support the background vocals. Now, if you listen to these 3 layers, you'll hear that the main vocals sit dramatically above the other 2.
They say it started like a wildfire.
Might not sound like it there, but if we listen to it in context of the mix,
They say it started like a wildfire. I feel it spreading in a new way about right now. Change the game, build an empire.
you get the idea. So essentially, anything that's supporting that main vocal, you want to keep it as nice and uniform as possible. Now, people have got their own opinions on auto-tune and things, and you shouldn't have to auto-tune things, this, that, and the other. Unfortunately, we do live in a world where every single song you can think of relies on pitch correction, whether it's one extreme or another, like whether it's barely used or it's only used as a very correctional thing, or potentially people use it religiously. It's just the world we live in, and in order to make music that is as good quality and as arranged and as polished as other music, this is what we need to do. So yeah, I think without further ado, I believe that is everything. I think if I go on anymore, it's going to be boring as hell, and you're probably not going to gain much. So I hope this has helped as a general sort of vocal arrangement / vocal production video. I really do appreciate you guys taking the time to watch. If you want more videos like this, let me know. If you want to see other content similar to whether it be this style of music and my covers, or whether it be more Cubase tutorials, subscribe and view my other videos for more. But for the time being, subscribe, like, comment. Have a good day. Bye-bye.